This is the 7 Minutes with Q podcast. I am your host, Q. Today on the show, we're going to talk about gun rights, mental health, and defund the police versus smart fund the police. Our guest today is Johnny Solis, a local educator, activist, and former employee of Rick Perry and other political figures. If these stories resonate with you, like, share, comment. Remember, we want to grow independent of the big labels and platforms. Welcome to the 7 Minutes with Q podcast. I am your host, Q. Welcome to the show. Thank you for watching and listening. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. Hit that button for notifications, like, reshare, leave a comment. Today on the show, we have Johnny Solis. Welcome to the show, my brother.
Hey, how's it going, man? Good to see you again.
Yeah, no problem. The pleasure is ours. We welcome him onto the show. Today, we're going to talk about kind of the recent events that have happened with gun violence in the USA. But real quick, we're going to take a 10-second moment of silence for any and everybody that has been impacted by it, not just in the United States of America, but, abroad. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. You guys are champions. So what's up, Solis?
What's up, man? I just got back from the shooting range, actually, out in the hill country where I'm originally from. I love my guns, and I'm glad you asked me to come and talk about this because...
Just a little bit about me. I'm a recent UH law grad and currently work for HIC. I work formerly for YesPrep, but I work for Democrats, Republicans, for the governor of Texas, Rick Perry. I campaigned for Senator Obama in Ohio in 2008, and I worked on countless campaigns and recently for Harris County as an environmental policy legal analyst. But yeah, I'm here to talk about guns. Let's do it.
So let's do it. So one question that I have is let's break it down and make it simple.
Okay.
Why has there not been any advances in gun rights legislation, progressivism within that? Can you kind of talk about that?
Yeah, I think if we get down to the meat of it, Democrats suck at messaging. They suck at messaging, and they let the right wing, not just the Republican Party, but the right wing, take advantage of the narrative. And they, being the Democrats, are going to take away your guns. And then you have brilliant minds like Beto O'Rourke literally saying on the presidential debate stage during the Democratic primary, hell yeah, we're going to take away your guns. I mean, when you use language like that, you're going to throw off a large segment of the population. Next, you have this other stupid phrase that has come from the left wing of let's defund the police. So what do people, normal, average people who love their guns, I have at least 3, what do they hear when they hear that? They say they're going to take away our guns. Beto literally said that. They're going to defund the police. So if they defund the police, don't I need my guns to protect myself? I mean, what do you think about that? So, it's just stupid messaging.
So defund the police is not a term that 7 Minutes with Q dislikes. We like that term.
So I do not like that term.
Let's go in on it.
Okay.
So you already kind of spoke to it. For me, defund the police, it starts with the P word, police, but it does expand to criminal justice as a broad spectrum.
Okay.
For sure. It's not just them. It's a lot of other things. It's like people who, they've been charged, they've found guilty, now they're on probation. Why do they have to have so much animosity between the people that work in probation centers, offices, whatever, and them? Like, let's talk about that, right? Let's also talk about why the fuck are traffic fees as high as they are. Let's also talk about blind youth. There's a lot of things to talk about. But yeah, for us, 7 Minutes with Q, defund the police is not a term we dislike. We like that term.
Okay, well,
So tell us a little bit more what you think.
I dislike that term, and I'll respect your opinion, but I think the right again is they're brilliant at rebranding sensible legislation and actions that Democrats want to put forward. And let's be honest, we're talking about Democrats versus Republicans. We're talking about the left wing versus the right wing.
Facts.
And so I don't think that defund the police means take the money away. I think what it means is, like, for example, my small town of Johnson City, we have it's a town of 1,600. When I graduated from high school, it was 1,191 to be exact. They have military grade weapons, and this all happened after 9/11. This funding for anti-terror equipment to be sent to local police municipalities. We saw that in Ferguson. We saw that in all of the protests, Seattle, etc. Over the last several years. These tanks, these high-power weapons, etc., being used by the police that are war weapons, military weapons. I think what defund the police, which again, I do not like that term, nor do I believe in it, but I think what it means to be is smarter funding of the police. And I don't think that we should be taking away guns, we should not be equipping our police departments with military grade vehicles and assault weapons, etc. And I think that's where defund the police kind of gets lost, because think about it. You're sitting in Iowa, or you're sitting in rural Texas, or you're sitting in Arizona, and you hear defund the police. Democrats want to take away all of our rights. So hell yeah, we want our guns. So I think the two are tangentially related, and they intersect. And I just think that it's just a bunch of unwise messaging on the Democratic. I don't know who their consultants are, etc.
So you're not saying that you don't want changes in law enforcement.
No, I'm not. I do think we need changes, but we need to be smart about it. Smart funding of the police, not defund the police.
Okay, so at your core, you're talking about you don't like the rhetoric and the semantics of defund the police.
Because we get pushed into a pigeonhole. I mean, by we, I mean, well, I'm an independent, but I identify with the Democrats more so. But they get pushed into the pigeonhole by the Republican Party, Fox News, the right wing, Breitbart, because they say stupid shit like defund the police. A lot of Black Lives Matter individuals, a lot of Antifa, a lot of those were saying that, chanting it over the last summer. You know, how it's so naive to think that we're going to actually get the change that we want if we're saying dumb ass phrases like that.
Okay, so you really what you're talking about is how to message it, reach people that are not the persuadables, right? People who are a little bit more hardline, or like for them, they need some sort of buzzword to get behind. Okay.
Exactly. Smart funding of the police, not defunding.
That's a whole nother conversation. That's a whole nother person, community. That's a whole nother. And that shit we respect, baby. Cheers to that. Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. Salud. Hey. But so I mentioned it was tangential. So
I want to talk about I want to talk about guns. All right.
Yeah, guns.
Stance on guns. What is your stance on guns?
I believe in the Second Amendment. However, I do believe that we have to be cognizant of the fact that when the Second Amendment was drafted and ratified as a Bill of Rights, they were talking about one-shot muskets. I mean, we didn't have Winchesters. We didn't have.
I'll give them that. Rifles. That I will give them. That's true.
Yeah. So, but am I for what Beto said? And again, it pisses me off. And when he ran against Ted Cruz, it came down to two issues for me. Q was immigration or gun rights, because Beto was saying we're going to take your guns, we're going to restrict your gun rights. Look, I love guns. I go hunting every year with my family. I think we killed about 5 or 6 deer this year, this past year during hunting season. I like going to the gun range, etc. I have a shotgun, a .243 Winchester, and a pistol. I do not own an assault rifle, and we can go into that later. But I do not think that we're going to win on this. And we're incredibly, I'm going to use this word again, naive. In Texas, you're not going to win a statewide race, Beto. You're not going to win governor. You're not going to win it when you say shit like, hell yeah, we're going to take your guns away. It is a fundamental belief in the Texas independent spirit that we should have our guns and we deserve our guns. And I agree with that. Now, do I think we need assault rifles? No, but I'm not going to go take away your assault rifle. The law is the law.
So let me ask you, how do you think the conversation about gun rights can be had with Republicans? How can somebody have that conversation with them?
So it's interesting, and you may have seen it on social media. I posted, we need to talk about mental health first in this country. Mental health and domestic terrorism. That's where we start. And I think that's where and I had a lot of Republicans and people, and I didn't craft that message trying to reach out to them. This is what I fundamentally believe. Several Republicans comment on my post about mental health and domestic terrorism that they 100% agree. And these are people who 100% agree in the Second Amendment. I think that should become part of a background check. And I mean, mental health, regardless of gun rights, is its own issue. You and I have talked about this before, right? So why are we letting people who are mentally unstable? I mean, that's what we saw in Aurora. That's what we with the Batman killings. And that's what we saw Sandy Hook. I mean, these individuals had a history of being mentally unstable. That's where we need to tackle first. And I know you're going to agree with this, but especially within our Black and brown communities, we delegitimize the importance of mental health. And, it's important that we address that, but we don't, because I know, at least speaking from experience as a Latino, not Latinx, as a Latino, there's a stigma that you're weak if you go to a therapist or something, or if you seek mental health, mental treatment via medication. There's a stigma, and you're not man enough, or you're not strong enough, you're not woman enough. So I think we just need to tackle that first. I think go ahead.
Go ahead.
I also think that mental health tied to domestic violence. We see a lot of, this machismo idea ties into that leads to gun violence.
So I was going to ask, do you think Republicans are ready to have that conversation about mental health and guns?
No, I don't. I don't think they are. And I think that Democrats are not fully capable themselves of properly addressing it. It's stigmatized.
We kind of talked about the Republicans sort of approach. What do you think the Democratic approach could be in that same realm of gun rights, mental health, and so on?
I think that they need to shut the fuck up in terms of anything related to guns, gun framing. I do think that it's okay for them to move forward with legislation, but they suck at messaging, man. That's what it comes down to. They're just horrible.
I will say that taking away and then guns, being able to put those words together with the politician is problematic, knowing the culture. Listen, man, I want to be frank.
Okay.
What happened in Boulder, Colorado, grocery store? I have been in a grocery store in Houston, Texas, where a guy had a gun, a pistol on his waist. White guy. He had khakis on, tennis shoes, and a shirt. It was summertime, pre-COVID. Okay. This was like at least a year before COVID, maybe 2 years before COVID.
Okay.
And here I am talking, and so like I guess the only difference that separates me is like that trust of the gun owner and society, right?
Yeah. Like,
I think kind of crazy, man.
What you're talking about is he most likely had a concealed weapon license, so he was able to carry that in. Do I think that's necessary? No. But Quillen, I got to ask you something. Think about there was a church shooting, not in Charleston, but in Texas about 2 years ago. There was a recent article that brought it back up on the Texas Monthly. You know who apprehended and ultimately killed the guy who shot up the church?
Somebody who had a gun.
somebody who had a weapon on them. So that's where the mentality is. So
okay, I don't have a problem with people who will uphold the trust of society as they own their AR-15s and have their license. I don't have a problem with them. I have a problem when they break that trust.
Yeah, hold on 1 second, Colin.
So, it's COVID. We're having some technical difficulty, but we're going to make it work, baby.
Okay, there we go. I'm back.
Yeah. So what I said was like, we're talking about trust between a gun owner and society is really kind of what it boils down to.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So what if that white guy in khakis with a pistol on his side hip was the one to save you and the other customers from the other people, So like I said, at the end of the day, I don't have a problem with people who are going to uphold that social trust contract as a gun holder in a society. I don't have a problem with you at all. Okay. It's the people who want to break that contract. And how can we prevent that? In my opinion, that's the real question, because I know people personally. I touch guns. I've shot guns. I was going to ask you that.
Soon, some part of me says, unfortunately, but soon I will own guns. But
unfortunately, it's your American right.
So I'm also, it's complicated.
I'm proud of my guns. I got a 12 gauge.
And I'm not unproud. I'm not unproud. No. Listen. I know people with guns. I have no problem with people with guns. People with guns, have never pulled their guns on me.
Hey, Quillen, you mentioned the Republicans and how you want to get them to legislate guns. Give all black and brown people guns.
What about the black and brown poor?
Yeah, give them guns, and then we'll get some legislation on guns.
Hey, give all the black and brown poor guns and say, leave the black and brown neighborhoods alone. Have fun.
Yes. Yeah, I mean the Black Panthers, think about it, and I've talked about the Black Panthers. I love the Black Panthers, but whenever they had guns and they were monitoring the police, then all of a sudden the FBI became involved. Are we seeing that with domestic white terrorists? Because that is one of the biggest threats: mental health and domestic white supremacist terrorists who have access to guns, right? Facts. It's not, and then I love.
Hold on, real quick. Colorado guy was Syrian.
He was Syrian. I don't know if you saw his defense attorney today came out and said that it was a mental illness.
I heard that same argument as well.
Yeah, which again goes back to what I was talking about. We really want to address gun violence. We got to start with mental health. It's not about taking away our guns. Do you agree with Beto Q about taking away our guns?
I asked the goddamn questions on this show, motherfucker.
Hey, but come on.
Look here, you goddamn it. But I do think that Democrats are wrong when they say they want to take away guns. Yes, I do think so. Absolutely.
Take away guns and defund the police. But stupid messaging.
Defund the police, I don't disagree with that. No. I think we believe in being straightforward and to the point. When I hear defund the police, I don't just hear law enforcement, but I hear the whole idea of a criminal justice system. And I think the word criminal needs to go. I want to talk about a social justice system. Okay. I want to deal with the fucking environment. I want a system that fucking rehabilitates. I want my money to work for us. Isn't that the point of money? And that's also another thing. It's as an institution, don't you want to do better with the money? And if that's the case, you want to, doing the best with your money is not only handling a good budget, but investments that work.
Okay. I agree. Okay. So one of the victims of the Boulder tragedies was a cop who put his life on the line. Shouldn't we respect them? And when you say when they hear defund the police, Why did the police union endorse Donald Trump and not Biden? Biden, who's a pro-union guy. You know, when we hear this, I think Quillen, when it comes down to it, it's messaging. If we want to we got to win and we got to be smart. But Democrats who want to, and those of us who would like to see sensible legislation regarding criminal justice, regarding guns, need to stop falling into the Fox News trap. And when you hear take away guns, and again, I'm sorry, I'm going to push back on you, defund the police, it's not going to happen. They're going to beat us. They're going to beat us and beat us and beat us.
Okay. So like I said, 5 minutes, 30 seconds. Here's my pushback to they're going to beat us. Here's my pushback. All right. Within the next 15 to 45 years, the American and worldwide demographic is going to lean heavily towards Black people of color.
Okay.
In fact, by the end of the century, either 1 in 4 or 40% of the world's population will be African. Mm-hmm. Even in the United States of America, that demographic is going to change. I say that you're wrong. Defund the police will happen because of the changes in demographics that will happen. And if political engagement remains high, attacks on redistricting, and things along those lines are going to, we're going to have people in place to alter that. What are your thoughts?
I think you're entirely
60 seconds. Go ahead.
I think you're entirely wrong, man. I think that if you look at it, Black and brown and communities of color, including Asians, our Asian brothers and sisters, we are fundamentally conservative in our morals and our beliefs. And I think that we want good cops out there protecting us. I don't think we want to defund them. And we want our right to have guns, especially within the Latino community. And when you say shit like that, not you, but I'm talking about like the larger narrative, that's why you keep losing. Think about rural Texas. That is why Democrats, the only state in the country where the Democratic Party has not won a statewide race in 20 something years. They've won races in North Dakota, in Alabama, in Mississippi. They've won it in other places, but why not Texas? Because, these city urban folks like yourself, no offense, just snub the rural individuals and their values. And I think that, not just you, I'm not saying you, Quillen. I know you're a good guy and I know you could get along well if you came back to my hometown of Johnson City.
Listen, I know some goddamn rural folks, baby.
Yeah, but but don't
10
take
seconds,
away
10 seconds, 10 seconds.
10 seconds. Don't take away my guns. Beto O'Rourke, you're not going to win governor of Texas. And Democrats, you're stupid for using the phrase defund the police and take away your guns. It's not going to happen. It's not going to pass Congress.
10 seconds. Why do you think Matthew McConaughey cannot win Texas? 30 seconds, 3, 2, 1.
I do think Matthew McConaughey can win Texas if he becomes an independent, which is the real issue. I'd like to see him run as a Republican, but he is very liberal. But I think he could win it. He would win the suburban women vote. The women salivate over him, and I hate to use that in that phrase, but Matthew McConaughey is a powerhouse, and that's why he put out his book recently, and he's going on tours, and he's talking more and more about it. I would work for him.
And then there you have it, folks. Thank you for watching and listening to the 7 Minutes with Q podcast. Today on the show, we've had our amazing guest, Johnny Solis. Any last words, man? 5 seconds.
Smart fund the police.
Subscribe, like, hit the notifications, reshare. We out.